once again to Marilyn Hawes. It's getting Marilyn Hawes, nadgy, as we say up north, angry even, and time for the next hour. Well, not quite.
Well,
I'm going to wind her up.
I'm all chilled after my 4 days away, you see, with
You've got to pay for your sins.
well, I mean, yeah, it wasn't exactly relaxing. There was 18 of us, as we're a big family, as you know what it's like with your big family. 18, and that's just all come from my 4 kids.
Oh my goodness me.
So it was wonderful. Right near just by the Hampshire-Wiltshire boundary. Oh, stunning.
Yes, beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to be when my daughter rented. It was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
And can I dare I
The
say
Trafalgar estate, which
oh,
I said this has to be something to do with Lord Nelson, which it was. And when Lord Nelson died, his brother was given this estate down in Wiltshire. And it's absolutely in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't hear a plane or any. Oh, lovely. All you could hear was the kids.
yes, we're going to touch on that subject shortly. And dare I mention the T word to you, bank holiday and the T word, traffic.
Oh, don't. Oh my goodness. We left we're going down there. What should have been a 2.5 hours, 4 hours going down because there was an accident on the A34. And we left. I said we'd leave about lunchtime. We were okay. We were moving all the time, but it still took 3 hours. And it took one of my boys 4 hours last night. But going down south, oh, I think I mean
I'm thinking, I mentioned Devon and Cornwall to you. I wouldn't go there in the middle of winter.
no, I mean it's so different. There's no motorways there to put your foot down, and you can't. I mean, it's bad enough coming back from where we were, but people go. I mean, it was gridlocked on the M1 going south, gridlocked on the M25 going south, mile after mile, and you think, oh, I wasn't sorry to get home, I have to say.
Can you imagine now why people said and still say every day, Britain is full, go back?
It's certainly full.
Yes, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to mention a couple of things here. For a start, the House of Lords. Now, there's not a lot of chance of you becoming a lord, a lordess maybe. Or is that called a dame? Yes, it's called a dame. There is nothing like one, apparently. But Keir has got his teeth into this one even. And it sounds reasonable because there's hundreds of them, not far off 1,000 lords. Too many have been made and they can't fit in. It's a good job. It's £350 a day, apparently, you get for
Doing what? I mean, all you see on TV is either hardly anybody there or they're asleep. They're like nonagenarians. They all look like they've been embalmed. I mean, I know that you need it as a second hearing. You need, I think, the second house, but it's at what age are you, going to continue that? Because I mean, some of them are unbelievably decrepit. I mean, really. And if you're not going to turn up, then, bye bye off ski.
Well, true. Let me give you some figures, which we'll get to the real truth behind this, because there often is with this government particularly. You've got 285 Tory lords and only 209 Labour. So, we've got to redress that, is the thinking in the Labour Party. So how do we do it? Well, the first thing is we stop people not turning up, if that makes sense, at £350 a day. Yeah. If they're not there, they should be removed. Well,
or not be paid.
Yeah. What they're there for. Secondly, don't forget lords, by the way. Some are in the 20s, some are in the 90s. But the real crafty thing is ageism here. How are you going to get away with this? They've set a limit of 80 to the end of the term of the Parliament when you reach 80. So it could be as much as 85 if you work that one out. Then you've got to go. Now, drilling down as we do on most subjects, what's behind that? Well, most of the olders are Tories. I wonder why Keir has brought this in. Well, that's one reason. But you look at who's actually worthwhile, who's going on committees, who's attending regularly, and who's a jewel. I'll tell you, it's a Jewish lord, and he's 92, and he's brilliant. So
Well, that's
those
the
people
point,
that
isn't
say
it?
ageism, it's whether you can do the job or not.
Yes, that
Or
is
they-
right. Yeah, that is right. I agree with you. I mean, 80 is the new 70, isn't it? And so on and so forth. But then you've got people that can have early onset dementia. I mean, I know people in
Yeah,
their 60s, late 50s that have got
yes.
it. There's all sorts of, I mean, you can't be well, like I say, a sickest and get people off, but you've got to be sharp and you've got to be, I mean, some of the old guys are, I mean, not all of them are decrepit and nonagenarians, but some of them are. But if you can still do the job and you're still very, very bright, then why not? But you know, you've got to turn up. But I think there should be, I don't know, whether there's some sort of, could you be there's some sort of assessment to see if you're still up to the job? I don't know. If there was any doubt whether you could or not, ought to be some sort of medical assessment. I think you can't have people in the laws with Alzheimer's.
Well, I think, frankly, that if you don't turn up, you don't get paid. Of course, you don't.
Absolutely.
And if you don't turn up for a quarter of the time, then yes,
Yeah,
the off
you go.
bit comes in,
You
doesn't it?
go. But you've got no interest, have you?
No.
You're just making a nice little income for yourself. In fact, more than a nice little income for yourself. Over
Yeah,
two,
but it's the
over
income's
2 grand a week. Over 2 grand a week.
not bad, is it?
Not bad. I wouldn't mind that.
And it's other perks as well, of course, as there usually is in these jobs. But there's clearly politics, as there always is.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Something will be considered unfair.
Let's move on to, again, a perennial, which is the Pakistani gentleman, inverted commas, who comes over and does the usual rape thing and ruins somebody's life. And he says in mitigation, "Oh, I didn't know that was illegal." Well, I chased up on this actually with a Pakistani. And this particular person says, "Oh, that wouldn't be allowed." Now, again, we've not fact checked this, which we do with everything. That wouldn't be allowed. And clearly, there's some superstition, literally, and suspicion in this case, because think of Britain, think of shoplifting. It's not legal, but the police turn the blind eye about this. So what happens in Pakistan? Maybe it is not legal. I'm assured it's not. But you can turn blind eyes, can't you?
Or you can interpret your own culture as you wish, can't you? Because didn't that guy say he didn't know it was illegal because in his culture it's okay? Come to this country, you best check up on our laws. Because, you know, if you go to Singapore and you drop cigarette ends or chewing gum on the floor of the pavement, you will be arrested. So if you take drugs into certain countries, or if you take seeds of anything like into Australia or New Zealand, taken off you and you'll be fined. I mean, look up the laws. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, you know, check the laws. And that's just the weakest excuse. I mean, how could the absolutely weakest excuse? And even if you genuinely believed it, well, tough. It doesn't make any difference.
I smell a lawyer in all this, of course.
But why? Why is it
human
relevant?
rights lawyer.
Absolutely right. But why is it relevant? You raped someone in this country. It doesn't matter whether you thought it was right. It doesn't matter. I didn't know it was illegal. You know, I'm sorry. Oh.
Let's move on before she has more apoplexy. Oh, this will help you. There's more apparently now than 6 million people in the United Kingdom receiving benefits.
Really? Yeah, and how many of those are illegal migrants?
A good proportion, but having said that, we can't pin that on them because it's mainly Brits. It's disimproved, good word, by 500,000 in the last 12 months under Labour.
Right.
500,000 increase. That is ridiculous. And tell you what, there's an awful lot, not of necessarily illegal immigrants, but young people. And you
Yeah,
mentioned
I was
now
going to say, what are the, on those stats, what are the ages?
oh, well, this is from 18 upwards, and it's mental health, of course. That's the
No.
easy cop out. Well, I mean, it's constipation, as we know, with older people, and they're claiming benefits for constipation. Young people are mentally disabled. Now, we've mentioned this before, Marilyn. We've got to have a better system of checks and balances here,
Mm,
and it
mm.
should not be the GP because he's in an invidious position.
Well, the GPs, so my daughter-in-law told me when we were away on a break, are now she and my son are and their own children are massive fans of park runs. Yeah. And some GPs now are actually prescribing that. Go and do a park run. It is free. You will meet people. It is healthy. You're outside. You might lose weight. They are actually prescribing that you go and do a park run. Take that up. I mean, it's one of the most innovative things, so brilliantly thought up. Round about, was it? Well, it's been going for 20 years, apparently. I
Mm.
didn't realize park runs have been going that long, but I mean, they are a tremendous resource for, I mean, all sorts of age groups. I mean, my grandson, who's 12, he's done 100 runs now, and he's got this T-shirt, and he's made friends from it. Makes them makes the youngsters competitive. And some of the people that do park runs are, you know, they are use it as a part of their training program for the marathon. I mean, you can't beat going outside in the fresh air and having some form of exercise, even if it's walking the dog. You can't, it balances, and walking and talking, walking balances the chemicals in your brain. And, you know, they should go down that route first before they
Absolutely.
medicate anything. Get off your backside and go and do something.
Can we give a warning here, of course, if you're a nubile young lady? The number of attacks
Now,
and
I've also asked another of my daughter-in-laws on holiday who go out running, and I said, as I was listening to Five Live the other day, and I said, have you ever had any circumstances where she said, well, funny enough, I don't mind the whistles, I mind the leering. It's
yes,
when a car slows up and glares at you. You know, that I find very offensive. Just the friendly wolf whistle as years like used to be. But she said, I don't mind. But you know what really, and really hacks me off is people that walk and think you shouldn't be running on the pavement and they don't move. And they are more offensive than anybody else,
yes.
thinking, yeah, well, don't bloody run here then. You know, it's just incredible. You would think it's people groping you or all that shit. I don't mind a wolf whistle or a toot toot, you know. Actually, I'd be thankful for one. But you know, she said it is the leering when that car slows up and ugh,
Yes. So
interesting.
if your park is near an illegal immigrant hotel, think twice.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. I think more than twice, but I just wouldn't do it. I absolutely wouldn't do it.
I
I
was
mean,
watching
I'm a scaredy cat. I am like risk averse me.
yes, I was watching a video, a French video of an happening. There were two ladies sat on a park bench. Along came two of the illegals and were making the most horrible
Mm.
suggestions from, oh, your meat available to me. This
Oh,
is our
that's what they
culture.
call. Well, that's what prisoners call sing when they've got videos of children, you know, paedophiles. They call it fresh meat,
That's right.
and that's then you know, sort of traded on the dark web. It's
And
disgusting.
they
It's
were, yeah,
disgusting.
it's true. And they were accosted by these men. And I hate to think what would have happened, but a chap with a bit of sense, including a massive Alsatian, came along and got rid of them as soon as he threatened to release the Alsatian. And the Alsatian, of course, made attempts to get at them on the lead.
Well, Muslims
Why
don't.
don't we do things
Well,
like
Muslims don't like dogs, do they? They're
no,
terrified of dogs because I
no,
know when we have Every and what's the other one? The What's the other? Yodel. A lot of their drivers are Asian of Asian head, and they hate it. If they hear my dog, they like you'd think I've just sent a tiger on them or something. They absolutely hate. They think they're filthy. Yeah, they would be terrified of a dog. Yeah, they really are visibly frightened. And my dog is an absolute walkover. She really is. I mean, but it's interesting that because did you also? I was listening today to the 14-year-old who was assaulted by the guy in Epping. That's in court today. Did you hear what he said? He went up and he said, I want to have your babies and I want your friend to have my babies. And then he
Very generous, isn't it?
isn't it kind of him? So dear, kissed her hand, put her hair behind her ear, and all of this stuff. And it was gross, absolutely gross.
Creepy. We're going to go on to some good news now, folks, and that's the tax office. Does any good news come out of our tax office? Yes, it does. Up until last week, they were like most government departments, brainwashed with woke DEI, diversity, equality, inclusivity, even to the extent they were giving people a whole day off to be brainwashed, and at least 1 hour a day to be brainwashed and re-educated because of our colonialism. Yes, really. And it's got out. A whistleblower. Well done, that whistleblower. They've had to cancel it. Hooray, there you are. Small victory, but it's a victory.
Oh, excellent. Oh, and have you seen, my sister lives in Southampton, and yesterday, right across the city, there were silent protests of people wearing the Union Jack and the St. George's flag. And because it was a silent protest, nobody could do anything.
Yes, a classic, isn't it? We
But
move
I
on
think it's a sign that people are saying, you're not going to push us around anymore. We are getting to the point at the edge of no return.
It's true. Let's add to that and think of migrant hotels and bizarre court decisions. We had a non-bizarre court decision from a sensible judge, of course, to get the bell back. And let's hope when this travels around Britain, even to Labour councils have seen the light, there'll be more in favour. The situation, of course, is that there are still over 200, apparently reduced from nearly 300 hotels. They're just bigger hotels. There's not any actual less. But there are 30,000 asylum seekers. Now, if they all get turned out, where are they going to go?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? They can't answer that question. They won't answer that question. Where are they going to go? Kick out a mother with kids who is British, and so they can live there. Where are they going? Well, they should be putting them in. I mean, this is. It was interesting debate today because Nigel Farage was going on about what he would do, blah blah blah, and he'd take over these Air Force bases, etc., etc. And then another lady came on and said, "Well, that's all well and good, but the Tories tried that." And there was such opposition by different councils that it was rejected. So your only option is to send them back. That is the only way because you haven't got the room. And as for this one in, one out, that doesn't change anything. You've still got the same number. I mean, has anyone gone yet and anyone come in yet on that one-to-one thing? Have we heard of anything? I don't think we have.
Well, there are figures coming out of the Labour Party, but I'm afraid.
Well, I wouldn't believe anything that comes out of them.
No, it's getting that way, sadly, isn't it? Again, I got a bit of good news for you for this one. The rise of the village shop. Now, some of these tiny hamlets, like yours, would love a village shop.
Yeah.
It's usually tied up with a post office because
Yeah.
that's the centre of things. And a lot of them can't make any money. So they're being attended to, would you believe, by volunteers. It's doing the volunteers a lot of mental health good.
Well, absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, we had, as I told you before, it is, I don't know whether we're a village or a hamlet. I think if you're a hamlet, you have nothing but a few houses. Am I right? And if you are a village, then if we are a village, we're a very small village. But we used to have a post office that also was a newsagent, and it also sold fresh bread, eggs, bacon, all the basic essentials. Yeah. And that's closed. And there's, apart from the pub and an Indian restaurant that's been here 20 years, there is nothing else. There's nothing. So I mean, I suppose you could say because it's so small. Yeah, but you know people that actually run their own pubs, don't they? You get villages that club together and have a cooperative because the pub is going to be closed down. And a pub, I think, is just a real cohesive thing for a village. I really do. It's something very peculiar about the Brits and their pubs, isn't there? I mean, it's such a long-standing tradition going back to when we had coach and horses and all of that, and you know, it's Dick Turpin, and you know, it's just such an established thing. No other country can make, even, and I beg your pardon, with Spain or Portugal, you cannot, although you can call it a pub, it is not like a pub in England. It just isn't.
No, and we've still got coach and horses, of course, these days. They just call politicians and they just drive through everything that the populace want. And we move swiftly on to something we've covered already, but there is an addition we must add here, and that's the HMOs, the packing them in, that's the illegal immigrants, to a big terrace house, giving them their own room, including a kitchen, etc. And they visited one, I'm saying they, I think it was GB News actually, in Bolton. And they said, do you realise you've been and your 8 different friends there being house free on the British taxpayer? And there was a sort of grunt. And do you know that a single parent mum and 2 children had to be thrown out of that house for you to get that room? Some of them have got a conscience. They say, well, that's disgusting. How can that happen in Britain, this wonderful society? Says it all, Marilyn.
Well, then get out and let the mum come back in then.
Yeah.
With the other, like, come and stay with the 8 odd men that you've got there. But I mean, it's just, I don't know what they're going to do with them. I really don't. But I mean, you can't.
I know what they should be doing with them.
Well, exactly. So do I. But I mean, they should, as soon as it would be if they come in, they get. There's a lady on just an ordinary person phoning in this morning saying, well, if they come in, then they should have the army, the navy, whatever. You know, they're not on the front line at the moment. Some of them turning them around in another little boat and pushing them back to France, and they could spend all their time going back and forward across the channel, push this way, push that way. And if they knew they were going to be put back in another boat to go back, they wouldn't come here. Because what's the point in spending all that money on a trafficker if you know when you get here, you're going to be transferred into another boat and go back?
Well, that makes me a little bit nervous. While agreeing with 90% of what Nigel has announced over the last 48 hours, he would do, hurrah. There is a little thing hidden in there. They would be sent back, free air flights, and given £2,500.
Oh,
that is a king's ransom for these people. Why are they given £2,500, Nigel? Maybe this has not been completely thought through.
No. That's ridiculous. No, that's. I mean, it is complicated, I suppose, if you think of the ins and outs and the interruption of the, you know, ECHR and all of that. I mean, you have to come out of that. There's no 2 ways about it. We have to come out of it, or adjust it, or find a way around it. But you shouldn't be setting foot on our territory anyway. And you go back to France, and if you think you are wanting to make a legal entry, you make your application from there.
Yes, and I'd come or keep coming back for £2,500 a time. Sounds a good deal to me.
Yeah, does to me as well.
Yes, there you are.
Well, you know, that's a week's salary if you're in the House of Lords.
Nice comparison.
Income, not salary, sorry. Weekly wage.
Yeah, well, there we go. Let's, something you've mentioned before about the flags. Again, go into this in a little bit of detail. Birmingham and all ports, north and south, have decided to light their buildings, especially Birmingham, with the Pakistani Independence Day and then the Indian Independence Day. Now, all right, I can understand why, knowing the size of the commuters, but it's only 7 or 8. No, it's about 10% in Birmingham. But to pull down the Union Jack so they can put their friends, What other country in the world would do that?
Oh, I think
Not-
we should go to Pakistan and have our St. George's Day flag put up there. And we want, here's our flag. We're coming over to you now. If you want independence from us, then bugger off.
Well, if you did that in Pakistan, of course, you'd have your whatsits cut
Well,
off,
exactly.
whatever they are.
We sit here and we roll over and have our tummy tickled, and no one does anything. We all whinge, but no, but I mean, it is unfortunately slowly rising, this anger and this
Yeah.
it's amazing how quickly what Epping did, and it'll be very interesting to see if that stays as it is, because I hear Yvette Cooper wants to now challenge that, and the hotel that owns it says they have every right to, or hotels have rights to do what they want, but I don't know, do they? I mean,
No, then the
that's
lawyers.
Epping. Well, the
the
Epping
lawyer-
Hotel was a planning issue, isn't it, as well, though?
It is, but the lawyers can make black turning into
Oh,
white, so we
yeah.
know all about that. And we also know about the fact that Birmingham Council and others, but mainly Birmingham, has actually said, no, we didn't pull down the Palestinian flag because it would have caused trouble and our staff may have been assaulted when they came into work. Wow. Would they? Well, and that's the reason for you leaving the Palestine. Well, I'll tell you what, it tells you one thing, but it tells you anything else. What are all these idiots doing waving the Palestinian flag about in the first place? Do they realise what havoc they're causing?
No, that's right.
Abroad and at home here in the United
That's right. But do you not remember? I think it was last year when Oxford University did not have their annual sort of dinner and fest for St. George's Day. They just chucked that out on the bonfire so they could celebrate Eid.
Yeah, well, they've got brains at these universities in reverse proportion to common sense. And it is as simple as that. Back to the word woke. You mentioned again about the hotels in hotspots. Well, it's Dudley now. There's the Leafy Glades. Lots of towns like it with the same immigrant problem hotels. And they, of course, did the usual, ladies in pink mainly, getting out there and showing the flag. And if it's spread to that kind of community, there's never any trouble in places like Dudley. There's only these hot spots where there is trouble because, of course, Antifa, anything far extreme, because Antifa can be either extreme right or extreme left. You will always find the Labour Party saying they're extreme right. They never
But
say
it is just,
extreme left.
it is ridiculous. All this thing about our flag and our patriotism and stuff like that, that may be on so many occasions well hidden. But on this, it isn't. You know, people want to be out there and be patriotic and all of that. And I wish there was more of it, quite frankly. I mean, I really do. And it's not, what has it got to do with being far right? A lot of the people's opinions are to do with common sense and wanting their country back as it was, with the same ethics and belief systems that we've got, and we don't want to see our heritage destroyed. That's not far right. That's being patriotic about the country and the methodology that you were brought up in.
Yes.
You don't want to see these things that have been long standing in our time over centuries destroyed. And that's not far right. It's ridiculous. But why is it far right to say I don't want these men walking down Epping High Street or the hotel where my little one goes to school? I don't want them there. That's not far right. It's just common sense. It's safeguarding, actually.
Quickly moving on, because we've got such a lot to cover. Falling birth rate. Now, interesting, this one. It's come out from the travel industry of all places, because people now sensibly appear not to be going on holiday. There's been no increase anyway. In Europe, in July and August. It's too blooming hot, certainly has been this year. That's probably one reason. But the main reason actually is the birth rate. People are choosing and are able now to travel and holiday in May and October and even February. Why? Well, A, less crowds, and B, It's a third of the price sometimes.
I think that's a very strange reason to base something as joyous as having a family and a baby. Oh, you know what? I don't want a kid. I want to go on holiday all the time. That is really in that if that's how you work out your life plan, then I don't think you should be having a child anyway. So you get on with it. But I think people get there so often, youngsters, they've got so much disposable income these days, whether they think they have or they haven't, but they have. And I think a lot of girls are doing very, very stressful high-end jobs with important, decisions to be made. And then do I give this up? Do I have a baby? They leave it too late. They can't have a baby. Then they need IVF because, their fertile years are waning. And basically Mother Nature hasn't caught up with the fact you can still happily have babies at 50. You know what I mean? You got, the quality of your eggs, everything starts going downhill from like early 30s. I think it's a great shame that people can put something as trivial as that, which it is, it's trivial. If you talk to your average person, I think if you were to say, I'm putting children on hold, I don't want them because of the state of the world, that I would understand. That the way the world is, I think I might just sit and think about this for the next 2 or 3 years. But that's quite a valid reason, but not because, I want to have, well, I'd rather go on holiday. I don't know. I just
Well,
find
we'll,
that
we'll
weird.
stick
I find that weird because the people, I don't think everybody understands the joy. I always remember when I was engaged, first time round, I was engaged, and this lady who hadn't had a family, said to me, "Oh, when you get married, how do you feel?" I said, "Oh, I'm not that bothered. I'm really not that bothered about having a family." And she said, "I hope you change," because she said, now we get to my age, her husband and her were then, 65. And she said, when we were younger and everybody else had screaming babies and sleepless nights, and we was like gadding around the world and doing this, that, and the other, it was great. But now those children have grown up, and now it's not so great because they've got their children's graduations and weddings and family fun, and celebrations and all of that. And now it can be quite lonely.
It can. Let me tell you that across Europe, the reproduction rate is now down to 1.38. Nowhere near enough for sustainability. And maybe this is part of the reason France is trying to look on the bright side, because a lot of hotels are saying these are adult hotels only. And France have just passed a law this very week saying it's illegal. We can't understand anybody being so inhuman as to say, I want to go on holiday in this type of hotel. That's interesting. So the French still love the kids and are keen on children.
Well, the world and the outlook is changing in so many. Maybe people find, and I suppose you see, when I had it's such a different world now. It's such a different world. I mean, the women in when I was 23 and all that, people, what you were a teacher or you were a secretary or a nurse, and all these amazing jobs that youngsters do now, incredibly interesting jobs. They go to university, have these, I mean, jobs that you didn't even know would have ever existed. And they are very stimulating. And maybe the women feel, well, why? I do think a lot of women feel, why is it, well, men can't have the baby, but why is it me that has to? I think a lot of women do feel quite angsty about, why have I got to be the one that does this? Why have I? Because that's the way it's always been. That is the way it works, unless your husband is happy or you marry somebody who's happy to be a house husband, unless you have that, then, that's the way it's always been. A lot of young women find it difficult. And then, babies, as much as I love my lot, I mean, they can be boring. Let's be honest, they can be boring, and they are incredibly demanding. when they're 2 years old and they're having tantrums and all of that. I mean, I found it actually demanding when my 5-year-old granddaughter was having a hissy fit in the restaurant the other day with 18 of us sat in there, and she wasn't doing this and she wasn't doing that. Like, oh,
Well, that's the lady's prerogative. Come on.
well, but I know full well I would never. I mean, you show me up in a public place, you will not be coming back. Even if we go on out for a coffee and a donut, you're going to have a wheel off. Right, that's it. Not taking you next time.
That's interesting because it's coming out, of course, that even people you wouldn't say or think would do a thing, they actually smack their children. Not a lot, occasionally.
Because there is a thing the other day as well, which is right. I think it was on about 3 weeks ago, and they were saying, and it's so true, shouting at children. If you're continually shouting at children, that does cause them trauma. You don't, I mean, you don't need to shout. One of my nieces, my sister's daughter, was a shouter. And to be fair, so's my daughter sometimes, not so much now. She's got nothing to shout about. She's got all the help she ever needs. But I don't like it. I don't like it. There's other ways of doing it. You don't need, you can use steely calm
Yes.
and your eyes. I did that to this.
Yes, the eyes have it.
No, that is the eyes. My 5-year-old, when she was like, she then kicked off yesterday morning as well. And I just said her name and I just looked at her and I said, "Do you think Nana's pleased with your behavior towards your daddy? Your daddy is my little boy." He said, "He's not little. He's still my baby." I said, "You now say sorry." Because I said, I did my sort of deputy head. "I'm very disappointed in you."
Yeah.
I didn't need to raise my voice.
Well,
I'm very disappointed.
Carolyn, you're frightening the viewers today, certainly frightening me. Anyway, as something else we'll go back to, you recently mentioned.
Oh, golly.
And we blame a lot of things on previous generations, but can I go back even further? Can we go back to the women's lib movement? Oh my, listen, well over 100 years old if you analyze it. And let me say initially, this was born out of Marxism. There you go. Well, something good's got to come out of it. And of course, one thing that did was women's vote and
Absolutely.
equality. So great, hurrah, well done. But since then, the men have been suffering, poor us men. No, I'm teasing a little bit, but that's where it's coming from. And I'll tell you when it made a big step forward, when somebody decided that you were not a miss or a missus, you were a Ms.
Oh, Ms.
No, you're either
MS.
MS. You were either married or you're not married. What's wrong with that, girls?
I totally agree.
And it's the same back to Sir Keir. What's a woman? Well, he now knows because the High Court, who as I assume he still worships as a lawyer, anything else legally worshipped. So he now knows what a woman is and a man. So that's a step forward. But now it's come out in the school. There's a new diktat gone out to schools, and some are actually going with this. And this is a primary school. When the kids are said, "Oh, now your teacher's got married over the summer holidays. She'll be like to be called MX." Now, can you see a 3 and 4 and 5-year-old saying,
I had, is that right? I had a feeling it was if you are non-binary.
I don't care. I'm thinking of the 4 or 5.
Well, I just think it's ridiculous. Yeah. You know, this pronoun badges they wear.
You mean. Yes,
she, her, he, they, whatever it is, which is a load of nonsense. But I thought it was to do with if you were non-binary or you're having trouble working out what your sexuality was, then you could be called or asked to be called MX.
Well, it came out of a teacher that got married in the school.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, whatever. I mean, if you want to do that in senior school, secondary school, whatever, but why have you got to complicate these little people's lives and their thoughts and for goodness sake, get them reading or writing and doing their maths. But the children that have started infants who were what you could call COVID babies, are incredibly aggressive. And you can ask some reception class teachers the problems they have seen that they have never encountered before since COVID, and you wonder, well, were these kids being allowed to behave like that in their own homes?
Yes.
I mean, they are incredibly, and there should be far more focus on that and ironing that out than what someone's name of a teacher should be.
It is a nice one for you to get your teeth into. We found out that a new survey's been done, and the average CEO of a company, a big company, is about £4 million a year, and some of them are getting nearly £7 million a year. Now we're talking big companies with tens of thousands of staff, but we're talking mega money, aren't we? And everybody says, "Oh, that's wrong." And probably it is. But hang on, I thought I've just done an item on footballers. They're paid more than this for kicking a bag of wind around.
What about someone who's saving lives in an operating theatre?
Well, exactly.
You know, I mean, I just think it's ridiculous. I really do think it's ridiculous, the amount of money. I mean, how much does the CEO of a big company like McDonald's earn? You know, or you know,
American-based companies. This is where the big wages are.
exactly.
Britain is
But
trying to cash up with Americans.
it's obscene, I think.
Yes.
And how do you justify that salary?
Well, I've got 50,000 people working for me. You can easily, well, you can justify.
Yeah, but in my experience,
football,
a big companies, the man at the top never knows what's going on, or the woman at the top never really knows what's going on. Look at Paula Vanel's with the post office.
But exactly, but go and compare it with a footballer. How many people are working? Yeah, and I'm afraid it's been illustrated in this transfer window. Some of
Yes.
them could be called brats by people
Yeah.
of yes, better
And
standing.
I also
behind
think with these
football.
youngsters, these young footballers, with those sort of incomes, they should be mandatorily have help of how they invest that money, how they spend that money. Do think people like Paul Gascoigne and others that have gone the same way as him, who just went down the alcoholic route and the drugs and gambling, so many of them that, you know, because a lot of these people are not necessarily the most educated, bright people, are they?
No, but Paul's a bit special. I mean, he was bright actually.
Yeah, not all of them are though, are they? I
No,
mean,
they're
the
not.
one,
And
you know,
I think, well, many people say that there were certain problems that has been brought out.
well, yeah,
Mental ability, not the lack of it, but
but I do think they should be. It is monstrous amounts of money, and if you come from a very ordinary background
yeah.
where maybe you have had poverty or whatever, or just average, that you know these young kids need help of what to do, how to do it. They should have a mentor. That's what I'm looking for. They should have a mentor, and that should be mandatory. I believe that can help them.
Yeah, they spend a fortune, don't they, in pre-med before they buy a player.
Mm.
And this should really form part of it. Anyway, we move on quickly, he says again. And we look at the weight loss fat jab, the stomach jab, and Ozempic, and it's called quite a lot of other things as well. And we know now that it really works and helps getting certain people back to work. Well done. But the side effects, and every blooming drug, whatever it is, even an aspirin, has side effects.
Yeah.
There are a number of serious things here. One is blindness. Now, it's not common, but it is possible, and certain people have been suffering from losing their sight.
Oh gosh, no, that's just frightening.
That's appalling. So think twice. If a diet can work,
I would love to know how many of these people literally, yes, just need to clamp your jaws or eat just less, you know, because you sometimes sit and you see people in the morning, you're going somewhere for a coffee and you'll see people already feeding their children cheeseburgers and all sorts of gunky, horrible carbohydrate, high processed foods, and you're looking at average shopping basket, and I mean, I. I know you can get cheap food, but you know, I know people don't have vast amounts of income, so you're not going to have lobster and salad every day, are you? You know what I mean? But eat you can eat, so you can buy vegetables. I mean, it must be cheaper now to be a vegetarian, I would have thought, and have a look at that. There's plenty of stuff. I find it hard to believe that in order to sustain yourself, you have to eat high fat, high processed, generally gunky food. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's necessary. You can eat, you can even grow. Well, of course, we can't grow our own stuff, can we, because of Angela Rayner? But you know, if you had an allotment, that's a great way of knocking it back, or your costs, quite honestly.
You must
I'd
also,
love to know though how many people have actually got like a fat illness, if that makes sense, or a body that, like people that have are alcoholic, their bodies don't break down the alcohol, do they? And then it becomes to poison them and all of that. How many have they done any research on that? That's what I'd like to know.
well,
How many?
there is serious research on this, and it's been compared with drug addiction. Food
Yeah,
can be an addiction, and if you eat a lot of it, your stomach will grow. That's the way
of
things
course,
happen,
of course.
and you need more to fill that stomach.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of that around, and that it's like giving up smoking. It takes such an amount of willpower.
Well, you can get help with this. I mean, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If you have an addiction to food, if you have a phobia, if you have an obsession, anything like that, if you have anxiety disorder, if you are self-harming, if you're doing this, that, and the other, look up the Thrive program. The Thrive program, gambling, whatever it is, 8 sessions over Zoom, and you 98.6% success rate. So if you are obsessed with eating chocolate and fatty foods or whatever, it's not CBT. I had cognitive behavior therapy. It didn't work, but I don't know. It sounds like CBT, but it isn't. It just changes the way you think, because what you think is what you believe, and what you believe is what you think, and round the loop you go. And I don't ask me how it works. I just know it does. And it just cuts through that, and you just think differently. And then afterwards, it's like osmosis. You don't want to eat these things. 98.6% success rate of getting people off smoking, getting people off alcohol, getting people off drugs. Did-da. You also have to want to do it, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot is up to dear old you and me. And
Yeah.
I once worked for an insurance company, and it was the first insurance company that took on diabetics.
Okay.
Every insurance company hitherto just said, "Oh, yeah, we don't want to insure you," but they thought, no, as long as the diabetes is well controlled, is it type 1, is it type 2? So I was trained to ask the appropriate questions, so that you passed to the actuary and a medic, and to see how bad you were and how disciplined you were. And we have some very dear friends that stayed with us this last weekend, and type 2 diabetic. And she was getting in the right state, having done a blood. Oh, it's 7, it's 8, whatever, borderline. And I had to be very diplomatic. Not my job normally. Northern lad, tell it how it is, but I was very diplomatic. And she was saying, well, what's wrong with me? And I said, well, A, you're a nurse and you should know yourself. And B, did you calculate what you had yesterday when we eat? I have never seen a lady eat so much food. I've never seen a fella eat so much as she
What
has.
size is she?
Yes, a little on the dumpy side.
But that doesn't help diabetes, you see. I mean, Roger,
I mean, if you're eating twice as much as she's counting, how much sugar's in this, how much sugar's in that. I said, well, hang on. You've got to look at quantity, not just how many to 100 milligrams there are. If you're eating 200 milligrams, then you've got to double your calculation, haven't you?
I mean, in a way, I mean, Roger was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when we went to New Zealand. They do very thorough checks there if you have to go to hospital with anything. And I had the shock of my life. So when he came back, I put him on a diet, anything sugary, because he did like puddings and things like that, right? No, we don't have biscuits in the house, nothing like that. Any sign of diabetes is gone. He's lost 1.5 stone in weight, fine. But they say, don't they, once you've been diagnosed with it, you still have it in your system. Your body has the ability for it to spike again. So he still has diabetes checks on his eyesight and stuff like that. In a way, it's probably easier if you've got type 1 diabetes, I don't know, where you do take insulin. My son's got one of those gadgets on his arm that, and it tells him how much he needs, or in the night it will go off because his mobile phone will go off because he's suddenly got a drop in something. And but I don't know how he works it out. I mean, when we were out at the weekend, he was like, right, what am I going to have? And there he was. I mean, he's a mathematician, so it's easy for him. I'd be absolutely
It
hopeless.
helps.
I'd be
I
hopeless.
mean, the time has gone completely again. To go on a cheery note, the NHS have come up with some wonderful thinking. They've decided to get an NHS app for dementia people. Well, do you think, oh, what a good idea that is.
They've got to remember how to use it, though.
Well, let's
Sorry.
let's take an average person in their 70s, for instance. Now, even if you're full thinking at age 70, you try and do things quickly on a small smartphone. Your fat fingers get everywhere. Then something goes wrong with the app. Then your internet's down, whatever. It's a challenge at the best.
It is a challenge. Having a husband with
looking at a
dementia.
small screen. And this is their answer, the dear old NHS, to make people better in their if you've got dementia, you've got to feel positive. And
No, that's fine, but you don't. If you can feel positive, but once you've struggled with your app, you're going to feel very negative.
you are.
I mean, my husband regularly forgets his password.
Don't we all?
Oh my word! And we're back onto Apple again.
Well, I mean, it's just you look.
Yes.
There's many old people in the old days that have to get big numbers on their telephone. So
Oh yeah, my mother's was.
yeah. Now multiply that by 1,000 and give them a smartphone and tell them to get onto that. It's absolute madness. Where do these geniuses get their ideas from?
Well, they don't think, do they? They don't walk in another's shoes and think, hang on, I'm suffering with this, that, and the other. They don't try and walk. Well, as part of the NHS, one of the key things is to have empathy. And to me, that's not particularly empathic thing. Some jobs workers come up with this idea, haven't got their head around the fact of what, go and talk to some dementia people, go and talk to some carers, see if they think that's a good idea.
Yes, I mean, it's very empathetic. Well, if you knock the first letter off, it's pathetic. And they just don't think.
They don't think.
Well, that's good news. That's the nearest we've got to good news. Well, I blame you for going on this soiree for 5, 6 days or whenever it was. And we have been given the long-term forecast. I threatened that Bank Holiday Monday would be bad, and it wasn't. I got that wrong. But it's coming. It's on its way.
Well, I hope it's not coming Thursday, because on Thursday, this is a nice thing to do. Well, I think it's a nice thing to do. I haven't done it yet, of course, is I am doing an overnight at a zoo with 2 of my grandchildren.
Oh, that's nice.
And we're staying, you sleep in what you're wearing, you get up the next morning, you go around with torches at night looking at all the animals. And I'll let you know, I might be eaten by a tiger on Thursday night.
Just think about the tiger. We go very quickly before I'm.
I'll let you know. It's certainly an experience. Well, the little ones just come back, like you do when you've got money. They've just come back from the Galapagos Islands, you see.
Oh, right.
And the thing that my 8-year-old granddaughter sent me this great big thing of something disgusting with her foot and trainer next to it. And she said, Nana, I had to show you this turtle turd.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, it makes a very good stew, I'm informed.
I have to say, having seen the photos, I would not be a fan to go there. I have to see the iguanas. Ooh, ooh, they're just
Oh,
disgusting, horrible. They're just too big. They're too prehistoric and reptilian. I just not for me.
it's the reptile thing. And having said that, and the dear old Isle of Wight, of course, have honoured Ellen MacArthur. Now we know Ellen because we're boaties and we've interviewed.
Yeah, brilliant woman.
She's a one-off, I'll tell you.
Yeah, she is, yeah.
One-off. Very few people could do what she did.
Ah.
But I don't know, is it a double-edged sword here? I wouldn't be too pleased when they found some dinosaur bones, a new reptilian dinosaur on the Isle of Wight, and they've named it after Ellen.
Oh, God.
Oh, how about that then? Was she pleased? I've not spoken to her since that time. So there you go. She's now in stone or rock.
woman. Oh, dear.
So you're going to finish up there or in the House of Lords. Thank you for being patient with me this afternoon with all
My pleasure.
things going on. And we'll see you next week.
Have fun.